In other news, families of the victims of the GV Florida bus crash in February are renewing their calls for justice. This after the Court of Appeals ordered the LTFRB to lift the suspension of over 100 units owned by the bus company. Patricia De Leon gives us an update from Quezon City. Hi, Pat.
The families of victims and survivors of the ill-fated GV Florida bus expressed dismay over the recent decision of the Court of Appeals ordering the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board to lift its 6-month preventive suspension on 186 bus units of GV Florida. Stella Embile, one of the survivors, hopes the LTFRB will file a motion for reconsideration or appeal before the Supreme Court. She said families and survivors laud the LTFRB's 6-month preventive suspension so that GV Florida may realize the gravity of their fault and so they can fix all of their buses and train their drivers more. The families, victims, and survivors say it would make them accept the CA's decision easier if only GV Florida's buses are safe and that all victims have already received reparations for their losses. They say there are still victims who have not heard from the management of GV Florida. Chat Baranda, wife of Don Baranda, who died during the accident, says she has not received a single word from GV Florida. Other survivors are still traumatized and still cannot ride a bus 4 months after the accident happened. The order to lift the suspension on 186 Florida buses came after the CA found that the LTFRB committed a grave abuse of discretion in its decision to suspend GV Florida's 188 units. GV Florida's legal counsel attorney Alex Verzosa meanwhile says the LTFRB itself already said in its decision that the 188 buses covered by 28 franchises committed no violations, making his client argument valid before the Court of Appeals. He adds the CA's decision will have no effect on the claims and civil cases filed by the families of the victims and survivors, since it is a separate issue. He adds the lifting of the suspension will all the more help GV Florida with its financial liabilities to families and victims of the bus crash. With regards to addressing fears of the victims' families that the same accident may happen again once GV Florida starts operating, Verzosa assures them that all requirements for roadworthiness compliance are being dealt with and that this time around they will be extra careful to prevent such accident from happening again. He adds Florida will have to submit to the LTFRB the certification from TESDA of its drivers and conductors and all other requirement compliance. The bus company will then ask the board to get their confiscated plates back after all requirements have been complied with. LTFRB Chairman Winston Hines meanwhile says he has yet to receive a copy of the order and says they will exhaust all legal remedies available to counter the decision of the Court of Appeals. The preventive suspension was issued on March 14 and will lapse on September 14. The suspension came after one of its buses fell into a ravine in Bontoc Mountain Province, killing 15 and injuring 32 others. Mai?
Thank you, Patricia. Patricia De Leon there reporting to us from Quezon City.